Welcome back to a brand new video, ladies and gentlemen, and today we are going to cover a very interesting topic between the Chris Hansen Onision documentary and YouTuber Edwin Costa, or Edwins Generation, or Homeboy's Got Receipts. This man has a bit too many online personas. Regardless, in this upload I'll show you how I think the former TV show host manipulated this man into coming onto his documentary, where he completely twisted his words in order to purposely make him appear in a very bad light. But before we get into all that, huge thank you to Josher, who actually added my video to the Prison Mate Luke Exposed playlist. I'm really happy that people are receiving that upload so well. Definitely check that out if you haven't, but at this point I think everybody has. I'm really kinda proud that I was able to make a better video on the situation while having 14 subscribers than so many other big creators. But it made me realize why everyone tells people to subscribe at the beginning of their videos. So leave a sub, please. Just click that button down below. It only takes a second and would really help me out a lot on the road to 50 subs. And also, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you are enjoying these kind of commentary videos. Also, while you're down there, you can also follow me on Twitter at @realmaterwelon to always be informed about stuff and sometimes watch me argue with weird people on Twitter. Okay, let's actually get into the topic now. So, who is this Chris Hansen guy? Well, I can guarantee you have most likely seen him before, although you might not recognize his name. He was the host of the To Catch a Predator show, where he and his crew basically exposed adults that were talking to underage girls and boys on national TV, which was overall a pretty successful show. So when he announced he would be moving his platform to YouTube long after the show had already ended, people obviously got excited for it, as he was a household name and he came with a clear goal: achieving justice for the victims of Onision. Now, Onision, if you don't know who Onision is, just click off this video. It's a very, very incredibly deep rabbit hole to go down, and if I were to go in depth in this video, it would be an hour long and painful to watch. So, because I don't wanna go down that route, but still provide some context, if you really want in-depth knowledge about who Onision is, I would absolutely recommend you watch June the King's video on Onision. I think it covers a lot of important aspects, and I'll definitely link it in the description. But if you want a very, very brief description of Onision, I'd say absolute scumbag who has emotionally abused several children, has been behaving very harmfully on this platform for ages now, and overall just a completely terrible human being. So when Chris Hansen came along and said he would be able to serve justice for all those that have been harmed by Onision, the public opinion was usually anticipating his involvement. But now fast forward almost 2 years, and in my opinion, Chris Hansen has failed completely and used this entire situation to exploit victims for his own personal gain, filming a documentary where he did a bunch of really gross shit, like lying to victims by showing their stories that they didn't want to be told in the documentary, or glorifying himself despite having all the other YouTubers doing all the research for him, and also talking down on these same YouTubers. So it's overall just a very, very poorly made documentary. But I just want to talk about one important aspect or interaction in this whole thing. But to understand it with full context, if you haven't seen it already, you should definitely check out Some Ordinary Gamers, aka Mudahar's video on the whole subject out. I think it's extremely compelling. I'll also have it linked, of course. But one person involved with this documentary, that being Edwins Generation, had been in hot water for a week now, with many people on Twitter attempting to cancel the guy for his appearance. So the general public view seems to be very against him right now, but I have to defend him, because I believe while he did fuck up a little bit, he was mostly manipulated by Chris Hansen and his team, and does absolutely not deserve to be cancelled. Now obviously, since Chris Hansen at this point in time is not that well respected anymore, completely justified by the way, most of the YouTubers he and his team wanted to appear in the Onision documentary declined to be a part of it, because they did not think he had their best interest in mind. Instead, they thought he was just using the situation for his own personal gain and money needs, which, you know, has kind of been proven by the fact that he sold his entire documentary show to the streaming service Discovery Plus, meaning that even if you would like to watch the Onision documentary and spread awareness of this guy, in order to get him under even more pressure, you would have to pay for it. And it's not like it's on Netflix or something, it's just a cheap rip-off, so, you know, it's kinda questionable if he actually got involved in the situation to serve justice. And Edwin Costa too, back in the summer, was a very, very vocal voice against Chris Hansen and his handling of the situation, so it really did come as a surprise that he was featured in the documentary. So many saw this as incredibly hypocritical and were saying like, oh, he's just doing this for clout to add more exposure to his channel, yada yada yada. Well, firstly, the whole ass documentary is behind behind a paywall, so it wouldn't be sensible to risk your reputation for an appearance on there, especially since Edwin Costa had been one of the biggest people involved with the whole Onision exposed drama, and because a huge part of the audience will be YouTube viewers that somewhat know what is going on. They most likely already know who Edwin is, so I think that's a dumb blanket statement to make, because even if he was really an opportunist, say he came on the documentary because it would have had the side effect of him getting more exposure or better opportunities or whatever, it still would not matter. Even so, he would still have the intent to come on there to call out Onision as well as Chris Hansen. And to the people saying he's a sellout and they paid him to do it, really there's absolutely zero evidence to support that claim, so I'm not even gonna attempt to rebuttal it. If you have zero proof, you can consider that a fact. And even more importantly, for his entire involvement in this documentary, most people fail to consider this now unlisted video that he put out right at the beginning of 2021, where he goes on to say this.
I've only seen episode 1.
Well, it's also like
I've been guaranteed they're gonna air the part where I give some real commentary on Chris Hansen. Okay, even if they don't air too much of me saying anything against Chris Hansen, something is better than nothing. I like to think of that, you know, because if I wasn't on it, Chris Hansen gets to look like a fucking hero, and he's not a hero.
And I truly believe he really had the intent to go on there because he believed he had something important to contribute, to make his voice heard, as one might say. But that, ironically, is where he fucked up. Not with malicious intent or anything, but he fucked up by being too naive and gullible. So he got invited to be on the show, right? And his conditions were for them to air out the part where he criticized Chris Hansen for the exploitation of Onision's victims, which is an absolutely justified criticism, by the way. And the production team agreed. That's the main reason Edwin agreed to be on the show. But they blatantly lied to him, and in hindsight it should have been so damn obvious, man. This is a documentary produced by Chris Hansen, and his career is dying right now. So what he and his team do in the show is to glorify him. This series is an absolute glorification of Chris Hansen. Such a goddamn one-sided one. They are literally making it out to be some kind of hero, some kind of god, despite him just profiting off the work of others, despite him publicly falling out with some of Onision's victims, despite him blocking all critics on Twitter, despite him airing stories by victims who wanted to remain private, and despite him and despite his crew tampering with important evidence that could have been provided as proof to press charges, he still gets glorified as this hero that came into the story to save the day and show people how terrible Onision actually is. Although that had been public knowledge for so many years at this point. So of course they're not gonna include any criticism of Chris Hansen. This is all just part of Chris Hansen's plan to rebuild his reputation, and he even had a lot of mainstream media at his side portraying him as some glorious savior when all he did is echoing other people's videos. I mean, it did eventually get Onision permanently demonetized, to be fair, but that's really just because he has mainstream media like YouTube on his side and needed to accomplish anything at all with his investigation. And that's exactly where Edwin Costa clearly messed up. He shouldn't have trusted his production team so easily. So the people that are saying he's gullible, naive, maybe even weak, I can understand the perspective, you know. I do think it was way too naive to just assume this company would put his criticism in there because they gave him their word for it in an email or something. But he absolutely does not deserve to get cancelled out of existence for this. The people that are trying to come at him over on Twitter are just pulling for loose strings. That's not something you can cancel someone for. People on Twitter even went as far as to dig up a picture from 7 years ago where he was wearing a shirt that they thought was anti-Semitic. But no, man, it's actually just merch from a normal rock band, so stop trying to cancel everybody over everything and get a life. Now, if I were in Edwin's situation, say I had any relevancy at all and Chris Hansen's crew were like, bro, we need you in this documentary, then under no condition ever would I have just gone on there and said my piece without a written contract being established. He should have gotten a contract legally obliging the crew to completely include his segment without taking it out of context or twisting his words in the documentary. That way, if they refused, you would just be able to convince the other creators that also got approached, like Repsilla for example, to not appear on there. And if they accepted but decided to break the contract, well, guess what? He could just sue them and win. So him not making sure everything will go smoothly with a contract but instead just naively believing them, yeah, that wasn't very smart of him. Maybe he should have brought his own camera and recorded the whole thing, because now we never know what he actually said. But I do actually believe it probably took them long to convince him to join the show, just because I can't imagine someone having been so critical of Chris Hansen and Onision in the past to just blindly accept everything without asking questions. So I do believe they lied to him and manipulated him quite a bit. And knowing all of that information makes the following clips from the documentary so bad, so painful to watch. Just have a look at it for yourself.
Everybody thought that it was just for financial gain, and he essentially does exploit victims, in my opinion.
Well, Edwin, perhaps you should take a look in the mirror, having tried to use victims in your own way with the drama channel to drive up clicks and views.
Just wow. You can clearly see that he cut the entire footage to only include one tiny criticism in his 3-part long documentary, even though Edwin said in his video that he was there for 4 whole hours. That's absolutely pathetic, man. This was taken completely out of context and my boy Edwin had been completely screwed over, which now retrospectively makes him look like a fool for believing the documentary crew that they would include his criticism. Personally, I really assumed they would just not air that part at all, but them cutting it together and afterwards having Chris Hansen disprove his argument is even worse in my opinion. And Chris Hansen's entire argument that Edwin is exploiting this for quote-unquote clicks and views is just so hypocritical. Firstly, I don't want to sit here and say there's absolutely no YouTuber that made a video about Onision with clicks, views, profit as a main motivation. I'm sure there have been a few, but he's purposely missing a lot of factors. First, the vast majority of creators make videos on Onision to rightfully call him out on his behavior, even when he's not currently even relevant anymore, thus resulting in less views, because they want to spread awareness that this man is a creep and should not be trusted. Instead, avoid it at all costs, as he is a complete scumbag. Now, of course, some people would milk the controversy for views, especially the people that make video after video on him. Yeah, I do think that they have money as a motivation and they are sadly keeping him relevant when they shouldn't, but it still spreads awareness and makes people informed about Onision. Like, say I was gonna make a video about Onision for views and profit. I obviously am not doing that since I'm mainly covering Edwin and Chris Hansen, even though I know that going after Onision specifically would most likely result in this video getting more views, but say I would actually do that. You know what? It still wouldn't matter, since at the end of the day people would still be made aware of the fact that Onision should again not be trusted, so I don't see any problem with it. Unless someone does like some stupid shit like a video defending him, but only retards would ever do that, right? And something else, Chris Hansen fails to consider that the vast majority of videos about Onision get demonetized instantly, since it's really a horrible topic for advertiser friendliness, and once it gets demonetized the algorithm barely recommends it to people anymore, which makes sense, cause why would YouTube push something that doesn't make them money at all? But that clearly means almost nobody would be making it for views and profit in the first place, since they know it's most likely going to get demonetized. So Chris Hansen throwing Edwin under the bus by stating this is, in my opinion, not just childish, no you did it too behavior, but also just incredibly disingenuous and scummy. I don't believe Edwin deserves the amount of hate he has been getting for this. I mean, of course he could have been smart about it, but it's really not deserving of a full-on cancellation if you take into account all the context I've provided in this video. And also Chris Hansen's argument is just so pathetic, because when you think about it, he literally does the same as these other YouTubers. He has a YouTube channel, he does videos, he basically exploits victims. If he really says that YouTubers are only doing it for profit, views, clicks, then he's doing exactly the same. It's so hypocritical and pathetic. Now, Chris Hansen does also have a part where he tries to defend himself against the backlash he got from certain YouTubers, and I would like to criticize it a lot, but then again, I don't want to repeat stuff that has already been said by other creators, and I realized that what I would have to say would be almost the same arguments that some ordinary gamers made, and since I know he did it better than I ever could, like I previously said, definitely watch Mudahar's video on it. It's really an excellent rebuttal of Chris Hansen's claims, and I can only recommend it to you. Instead, what I want to talk about in the last segment of this video is the pathetic attack on Edwin over on Twitter. So Edwin's Generation got hacked on Twitter, and the hackers are exposing all of his private DMs at a time in order to pressure him. Now, I won't be showing any DMs here out of respect, although I know I showed all of the DMs in my Minilat video, but that was to prove a point and because it was very integral for Minilat's viewers to know what he truly did to those underage fans. But in Edwin's case, I don't think he's a bad person or anything. These DMs don't show any important knowledge at all, and they should have all remained private interactions anyway, so I'm not gonna be the guy sitting here trying to expose all these pointless DMs. Instead, I prefer to criticize the creators that do so. first of all, it's so clear that these hackers haven't found anything incriminating at all. They just wanna make Edwin think they have, simply because they are leaking a couple of DMs like every other day. And if they really had any substantiating evidence at all, why not just release it right away? It wouldn't make sense to continue doing this stuff until eventually people will stop caring, so I really don't think they got any dirt on him at all, especially since when they threatened to release his DMs with Nicholas the Oreo, for example, who for some reason I always randomly mention in every topic because he always does something to contribute on Twitter about it. Well, Nicholas the Oreo, after this threat, actually released all of the DMs by himself and showing that there really wasn't anything like super secret he could get exposed for there. And also there's this guy that always makes a live stream that's 4 hours or more long where he just goes on and on and on about these newly leaked DMs like it's some word revelation. He's milking this entire situation to death. Not only is that very disrespectful, but only just so pathetic, man. Like, are you okay? Seriously, every other day you dedicate hours of your time to this man you don't even know in these massively pointless live streams. Like, seriously, are you okay, lad? I would love to talk to this person on stream because I'm very interested why he has such an obsession. Anyway, so I guess if you really want to know about these leaked DMs, that I'm telling you, there won't be anything worth waiting for in there, but if you really want to know, he's the main source for that, I guess. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna wrap up this video in a short conclusion. So in conclusion, Edwin gave a shout out to the people that defended him in his video, so I expect him to see this and give me a shout out as well, and that's obviously why I'm creating this video. And yeah, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, I'm just kidding. I obviously do believe that Edwin could have handled this situation a lot better initially, and in retrospect he does really seem rather naive, but he clearly does not deserve all the backlash he's getting from this. He still in the end was tricked by the production team. They made him come across terribly on purpose, so obviously the person people should be calling out is not Edwin at all, but Chris Hansen, which I've seen a lot of people doing, and I think it's very important to not let Chris Hansen get away with this. But luckily I do think that the public opinion definitely shifted against him, especially with this documentary finally releasing. It really didn't go over too well. There's been a lot of creators like me criticizing it, and I think that's the right way to go. I don't think Chris Hansen has accomplished anything at all. But that's gonna do it for the video today. What do you think of Edwins Generation's involvement in this? Definitely let me know down below in the comments. Just write your opinion there. I won't judge you at all. Just write what you think. Also leave a like and subscribe please if you haven't already, and it really helps me out a lot. And yeah, stay safe. Peace.